Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Inside LSU Baseball. I'm your host, Jason Armstrong, and you are here for the South Carolina preview. We are going to jump right into it. It's going to be a little bit different today. We're certainly going to get you ready for South Carolina, but I think we're going to spend less time on their team than we typically do, and kind of just look at some things with LSU and what we're hoping to see in this last weekend. So let's jump right in because I hate listening to podcasts and they do small talk for like the first 2.5 minutes. So I'm not going to do that. All right, South Carolina. Overall, 27-26. Man, they just had to squeak out a comeback win against, I think it was Winthrop in the midweek. So they're a game above 500. They're 5-22 overall in conference. Just the worst year they've had in a long time. I mean, we all know by now Paul Mainieri came out of retirement to coach this team, and they've lost a lot of talent from the last few years. This wasn't going to be a very strong team, but you add in that they've suffered a lot of injury, and just a lot of the veteran players aren't playing as well as they have in the past. So just not a great team, and we'll talk a lot more about them. But in addition to Paul Mainieri, some more LSU ties. You've got Terry Rooney, who was at LSU last year as the I think now, or he was at LSU. He was like director of player development and recruiting. Now I want to say he's the pitching coach at South Carolina. Another coach, they've got Monty Lee, who was the associate head coach. He was a head coach at Clemson for 7 years up into 2022. He is a 100% head coach material and will be a great head coach. This is a very good coaching staff. So, I don't know what direction they go in, but more than anything, I think it's just a talent thing. So who knows what they do next year. But if you don't think they're going to be ready to play spoiler this weekend, then you are mistaken. So on the season so far, if you just look at, I mentioned they've won 5 SEC games. Started off week 1. They lost the rubber match to Oklahoma. So, and it was a 6-5 game. So first weekend, when you're not sure what everybody's got, they're very close to winning that opening series of the season. They drop it 6-5 to Oklahoma. They then go get swept at Oklahoma. They're then swept by Tennessee, but they did put up a fight. I mean, their offense wasn't bad, and they Tennessee had to really hit the ball to win that series. They then lose a rubber match at Mississippi State. So that's another series where they get a game early. They're swept at Texas A&M, but they were competitive 2 of the games. So then they beat Ole Miss at home. So, it's hard to and then they go to Kentucky, and they're in another rubber match, and they lose that to Kentucky. So, you're talking about they have gotten swept, a few times now, more than a few. A couple of those are competitive, and then the other series that they lost, they're in a rubber match. They did beat Ole Miss, and then after the Kentucky series, they were swept and embarrassed at home by Florida, and then swept at Auburn. One of those games was like an 11-10 game, but they're coming off being swept in back-to-back series, and really probably the low point of their season is these last 2 series that they've played. But look, Florida 2 weekends ago outscored them. Florida scored 39 runs on 35 hits. That's a lot of runs over 3 games. Auburn scored 46 runs on 51 hits. So not great right there as far as pitching. So just taking a look overall, after 9 weekends, their offense, they're middle of the pack in batting average. So they're batting .264 in conference. Everything I'm talking about is conference. I mean, LSU is 6th at .270. South Carolina's not that far, behind them in batting average, but that is where the good news stops for them. They are 15th and remember, there's 16 teams in the SEC, 15th in slugging percentage. They are 13th in on-base percentage. They are 15th in runs scored, 15th in runs batted in, 14th in doubles and home runs, and have only walked 85 times, which is good for 15th. And they lead the league in hitting into double plays with 23, which is a killer stat. I mean, that just like sucks any momentum you can get going in an inning. So none of that's very good. All right. So maybe it's the offense. You might say that's the problem. Well, let's see how things are going on the mound for South Carolina. Earned run average, how about in conference play? It's a 9.23 ERA. That is 15th, only better than Missouri. Opposing teams are batting .319 against South Carolina, which is good for 15th in the conference, only better than Missouri. They have struck out the least amount of batters. They have allowed the second most runs, earned runs, second most earned runs. They've walked more batters than any other pitching staff other than Missouri. They have allowed the second most doubles, and the most home runs, 65 home runs. So, and for good measure, they lead the conference in wild pitches. This pitching staff is not good. All right. And when I say that, I'm talking about collectively, having to get, 27 outs 3 times a weekend is just a very difficult task for this pitching staff. It doesn't mean they won't have some pitchers that have success that you see that have good stuff, but as a whole, they're just not able to sustain it over an entire weekend. Now, defensively, the Gamecocks are fielding .974, good for the 12th best fielding percentage in the conference. And then only Tennessee has allowed more stolen bases. That's it. So, they're not really fielding great either, and you can run on them. There isn't a single solitary team stat which South Carolina ranks higher than LSU. That is truly remarkable stuff. With all of that said, you could still lose this series. I know. You think you're going to tell me I'm crazy, whatever. I always talk about how all the teams LSU is going to play has a chance and all this stuff. But if you do not play well, they can certainly beat you 2 games. They have enough, not a lot, but enough arms to keep LSU's struggling road offense. Remember, we talked about that, off balance. They've got enough offense to run into a couple balls. And look, they've got enough pride that they want to beat the number 1 team in the country. And what will be a lot of their best players' last games at Founders Park. This is still an SEC team, and baseball is unlike any other sport on earth. All you got to do is look at Missouri, what they did going into A&M, sweeping one of the hottest teams in the country. So I want to spend most of our time focusing on LSU and how this weekend can help our guys for the postseason. So I'll just briefly touch on a few of South Carolina's players that you need to know, because they do have some good players. Center fielder Nathan Hall, he's a very good player. He's going to do well in the draft this coming summer. He's a Clemson transfer, batting .330, 13 doubles, 7 home runs. He's got a team-leading 38 RBIs, team-leading 13 stolen bases, and he's got more walks than he does strikeouts. That is very rare. Henry Kazmar, he's an Ohio State transfer who's going to play pro ball. He's a left-handed hitting shortstop. He's been a 300 hitter on the year, and he's up to 326 in conference play with 4 jacks. He's a good player. Ethan Petrie, we all know Ethan Petrie. The star slugger has missed like 9 or 10 games this year. He is back, so he'll be there this weekend. which is a big boost for them. He's not having like a crazy offensive year, but then again, neither is a lot of guys. You look around the league, the offensive numbers are just down all across college baseball. I mean, I think the guy leading Andrew Fisher might have the most home runs this year of all the guys in the SEC with like 21. Man, you had multiple guys and way more than that last year. So, but Ethan Petrie, look, he's still dangerous. I mean, he's hitting 321, 10 doubles, 10 home runs, and that's missing like 10 games, 34 RBI. He hit 20-plus home runs his first 2 years. So this is a guy who could not just hit for power, but can hit for average. Their DH, he's a left-handed hitting. I think I'm saying this right. It's Jace, is it Woita? Woita. I really don't know. They didn't have the little thing on the website to be able to pronounce it. But batting .315 on the year, 5 doubles, 6 home runs, but really hitting well in conference. He's up to .333, and he's got 12 walks and 9 strikeouts. So that's a rare thing against the best pitching to have more walks than strikeouts. Big kid, hits from the left side. And then first baseman Bo Hollins, he's the son of a former big leaguer, and the freshman's hitting .301 on the year. He's got 5 home runs in conference. So, and look, they have some veteran players that you may recognize, some names like Blake Jackson and Kennedy Jones. Both of those guys were very good against LSU in Hoover last year. 2 games, LSU won one, I think 11-10, won 12-11. Will Tippett's another guy from last year you may remember. But all these guys have regressed this year. I mean, I don't think Tippett's playing as much as he did last year, so I don't know what the deal is. But, like, they're just – a lot of these veteran players are not having good years. They also lost Talmadge Lecroy. He was a veteran utility player, not a great third baseman, but he's a guy with loads of experience. He's missed a lot of time this year. Overall, not a great lineup 1 through 9, but again, baseball is a funny sport, so they've got enough to, you work a few walks, run into a couple balls, and it's the SEC. So on the mound, left-handed pitcher Ashton, I think it's Crowther, gets to start game 1. He is a transfer from Miami where he started 7 games in 2024. He only made 1 start this year out of the 18 appearances he has, and it was against Florida, and he was good. This is 2 weeks ago. He went 4 innings, only gave up 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts, and no walks. So, again, most of his, I think he's been really good. 2.20 ERA in conference. He's got 8 appearances, but most of it's been out of the bullpen. 16 innings pitched, 3 walks, 12 strikeouts. Teams are hitting .241 against them. The other pitcher that could give you problems is another lefty, Jake McCoy. He's a legit arm. He's the one guy who's been a starter week in and week out. He'll start game 2. But, like, he's thrown 55 innings this year, got 76 strikeouts, 4-4 record on a team that's not very good. So, but he's a guy that, he can struggle with low, command at times, but Jake McCoy's a legit arm, and he's going to bring it. And that's somebody that, like I say, a left-hander that can change speeds, and he's a decent pitcher that you're going to face. Probably the best pitcher in my opinion. Another lefty like Jarvis Evans, he's a transfer from Georgia who started versus LSU and Hoover last year. He has 9 starts on the year. It's a different look, soft-throwing lefty. Lefty Matthew Becker, that's another familiar name. He has 76 career SEC appearances. He's likely to come out of the bullpen, but that's a good bullpen arm. I anticipate Jarvis Evans is a guy they would bring out the pen as well. They have a true closer in Brandon Sweeney. He's got 6 saves. He was a teammate of Tanner Reeves at Blinn Community College last year. He started 17 games through 3 complete games, but he can get up there in the mid-90s. he's finished like a bunch of games. When you look at like the SEC stats, as far as like who's ended games in relief, he's up there as one of the guys who's been on the mound to end more games than a lot of people. So LSU isn't going to see numerous guys run out there that look anything like what we've been seeing the last few weeks. But then again, you can change speeds, you can locate, and you can reel off a few good innings, and you just never know how things are going to go. So that, again, they don't have the depth like Arkansas had, running guys out on Sunday, throwing 97 from the left side, but they've got SEC players. So this weekend, look, it's all about LSU and less about the opponent, in my opinion. So what do I hope to accomplish on this last SEC weekend of the year? I cannot even believe we're saying that. It's kind of sad. Number one, win the series. It is very easy, especially for fans to start wondering, hey, can we reach 20 wins? That would be the best, the best job in the Jay Johnson era. Can we be a number one seed? Can we go sweep them? All that good stuff. However, you are going on the road in the SEC against a team who would love to knock off the number one team in the country in front of their home crowd. Okay. Number one, win the series. Number two, keep the offense going. I shared the stat last week how LSU is averaging 3.9 runs per game on the road, and they have scored 2 runs or less in 6 of the 12 road games. So that's half of their road games. They've scored 2 runs or less. You have some good momentum right now after Arkansas. The last thing you want to do is start slow and allow South Carolina to gain some early confidence, So keep the offense going, because a lot of what you're doing right now and in Hoover is about how are you playing going into the postseason. As crazy as this sounds, guys, you are 16 days away from regionals, postseason baseball. That is nuts. You get to that point in every pitch, you've got, the nervousness, the butterflies in your stomach. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. But look, I talked about what I wanted to accomplish offensively. Individually, Derek Curriel, he's hitting 304 in conference. Danny Dickinson, he's hitting 303 in conference. Both of these guys can finish over 300 with good weekends, and I would love to see them do that. Jake Brown and Ethan Fry, they'll need really good weekends, but they're in striking distance. Brown's hitting 288, Fry's hitting 279, so they can also get there. It's going to take, whereas Curriel and Dickinson are just trying to maintain 300, Fry and Brown can get there with strong weekends. And look, that is a great feather in the cap to be able to hit 300 over the course of an entire, conference slate against the best pitchers in the country. So, like to see those guys accomplish that individual goal. On the mound, this is a great opportunity to get guys some valuable work with the postseason right around the corner. As much as I like seeing Anderson and Ianson go out there and pump 7+ innings and then hand the ball off to Cowan and he takes it home from there, this is a good week to give your studs a lighter workload. Look, again, you got to win the series, but if you can help it, I would like to not see Ianson and Anderson, throwing 110, 120 pitches. But again, you need to win the series. So give them a lighter workload, and also make sure that the rest of your arms are sharp. Now, they just released the pitching matchups, and I love this. Thursday will be TBA with Anderson and Ianson pitching Friday and Saturday. I love this, and not just because of the rest. You want to keep Anderson and Ianson on their normal routine Friday and Saturday because this series starts Thursday. They're going to go ahead and give them the day. But the other reason why I like this is because I'm very excited to see who gets to start Thursday night. The first thing that stands out to me, all right, is that I will get my wish of Case and Evans going back to the bullpen this weekend. I love that. And if you want to know my thoughts on this, there's a 4-minute clip posted to my Twitter account, so you can go see that. But I love this because I was not wanting them to start Case and Evans this weekend, and then you go into the postseason, and as soon as you need to close out a game, you go to Evans, and he hasn't pitched in relief in weeks. So love the fact that we'll see Evans back in the bullpen, and I love the fact that it's exciting. We're going to get to see who does Jay Johnson go to. So just speculating. I don't think you're going to start Shores because he's just emerged as one of your most trusted bullpen arms. That is a huge development. His last 3 outings, he pitched against A&M and twice against Arkansas, were very, very good. And that is a huge development. Same thing with Newt. All right. I don't think you go to somebody like Newt to start because look, unless you're planning on making Newt a third starter, and maybe that's a good idea, then don't start him this weekend. Newt has kind of come around as another one of those guys who's, I want to say his conference ERA is like below 2, but he's been a really good piece against A&M, against Arkansas. So those guys are good coming out the bullpen. I don't want to touch any of that at this stage of the year. So who's left? It has to be one of 2 guys for me, and that is William Schmidt or Connor Ware. At some point, look, you're going to need a big start for someone other than your 2 main guys, okay? We've seen in the past Sam Dutton start a couple of postseason games over, 2022, 2024, Nate Ackenhausen, Thatcher Hurd. So who will that be for LSU? You need to find him, and you do that by giving someone an opportunity now, this weekend and maybe in Hoover. And maybe it's a different guy in Hoover than it is this weekend, but you have to start kind of thinking ahead to regionals and super regionals. Who do you throw if you win those first 2 games in regionals, throwing Anderson and Ianson, and now you've got to be beat twice? Who are you going to start? I mean, you have to have a guy that you trust. And so you use the next 10 days to find out. But that's why Connor Ware, he hasn't done a lot in relief lately. He's pitching a batter here, batter there. So it's not like if you put him into the starting role this Thursday night that you're disrupting your bullpen because he's not been pitching a lot. The other one is William Schmidt. Look, I get it. He hasn't been good, but he's not been good in relief. He is 7-0 on the year. He's been a starter just like Cade Anderson was last year. Very good. And I think the thing with William Schmidt, his biggest asset is that big breaking ball. I think giving him the bullpen to warm up, the pregame, to get ready for his start, then he gets out there. He's got a clean slate, no scores on the, runners on base, no runs on the board. And if it takes him an inning to find his breaking ball, he can do that, opposed to coming in out of the bullpen, relief, and he can't afford to walk. It's a 4-4 game in the 8th inning. He can't afford to walk a batter. So guess what? Say he throws his first 2 breaking balls and nowhere close. You think he's coming back to that? No. He's got to groove fastballs. That's when you get hit. Or he's going, hey, they know a fastball is coming, so I got to put more on it, and then he can't find the zone. I really do think William Schmidt is worth giving a chance, really more in Hoover, because you need to win this series. So unless you're going to go game 1, we're going to go by committee. We're going to start Schmidt on a very tight rope. That's fine, okay? But I almost like Hoover being a really good spot for that, but I guess we'll see. Outside of Evans, Cowan, and Shores, I'm really excited to see Newt again, Cooper Williams, Jacob Myers. These are all arms you will absolutely need down the stretch. And I'm still, I've been talking about Cooper Williams for a long time. I really like what we're seeing out of him. I loved the way he pitched to Reese Robinette in the Arkansas series. when he came in to face the left-hander, if you remember, Robinette fouled off like 4 or 5 fastballs on the outside corner. And then Williams came up and in, all right, with a fastball. And I was thinking, if he goes up and in right here, he's got him. Well, Robinette did just enough. It was a ball, but he fouled it off. And then guess what? He set him up. Next pitch, 94 outside on the black. And because he had changed, the eyes of Robinette where he was looking, he took that pitch. I thought that was a really good under-the-radar job of pitching by Cooper Williams. So I'm excited to see him. I'd love to see Jacob Myers. I cannot believe the way he's throwing strikes and that slider. I mean, he went through Vahiva Aloy, one of the best hitters in the SEC, like he wasn't even standing there. So excited to see those guys. I'd also like to see Rizzy, and even a guy like Connor Binge. These are guys who need some confidence after rough recent outings. I mean, heck, the last time Connor Binge threw a pitch, and he was your go-to reliever for a lot of the season, it was 12 games ago, the midweek loss to Northwestern State. In Binge's last 3 outings, he faced 13 batters. He hit 3, walked 3, and allowed 4 runs. And get this, all of that on 1 hit. So his problem is not that he's getting hit, it's the command. And I think the 52% strikes thrown over that span I just read you has to be what is making Jay apprehensive about using him at this stage. Binge has an 11.8 ERA and a 3.33 batting average. I believe that's in conference play. Man, let him get healthy versus one of the worst offenses in the league. You just never know when a guy is going to turn the corner. That one outing is going to give him confidence, and then he's going to be useful down the stretch. So those are the kind of things that I'm looking for with this LSU team this weekend. Starts with winning. That's number one. Getting the offense, staying consistent, doing well on the road, having those individual guys, either maintain 300 in conference play or getting there. And then just the bullpen arms and seeing the different guys get opportunities. And I'm very excited to see who gets this start. The other thing, is just stay injury free. That is one of the biggest things. You do not look. You want to be locked and loaded on May 30th. Guys, that's right around the corner. Stay injury free. Get your wins. Get out of town. Go do what you got to do in Hoover. And we'll be ready to go. And here in just 15, 16 days. So that's going to do it for this episode. And as always, we'll be back here after the series to break down what we saw. Appreciate you guys as always. We will talk to you soon.